This train cost 213 million euros. It carried passengers between two capitals for 39 days. Then it started falling apart. Literally. A panel dropped off the underside while it was running and landed on the tracks in the snow. That 213 million, that's just the trains. The real bill, the line, the trains, the years of cleanup and broken promises, runs by some estimates as high as 11 billion euros. This is the fastest, most expensive failure in modern European rail history. And it happened for the same reason most disasters happen. Everyone wanted the cheap option. Picture the promise. A brand new high-speed line connecting Amsterdam to Brussels. Two capitals, under 2 hours, city center to city center. Faster than the old train, faster than flying once you count the airport. You'd have paid for this. If you live in the Netherlands, you did pay for this, out of your taxes. Billions of euros of public money poured into concrete and steel for years. And here's what you got. A service that launched in December and died in January. 39 days. Think about that. You wait years. You watch the budget swell. You're told it'll be world-class. And then the whole thing collapses faster than a free trial. The trains get towed away. The route goes dark. And you're back on the slow train, wondering where the money went. This isn't a story about engineering. It's a story about how money disappears. And we're not guessing at any of this. The Dutch parliament was so alarmed they launched a full public inquiry. The heaviest investigative tool they have, under oath, months of testimony, executives, ministers, and engineers, all forced to explain what went wrong. Everything you're about to hear is on the public record, the numbers, the warnings everyone ignored, the moment they knew and shipped it anyway. Let's follow the money. Here's the first mistake, and it's a big one. They built the track first. The whole high-speed line, tunnels, bridges, the works, for around 5 billion euros. A beautiful piece of railway designed for trains running 250 kilometers an hour. One problem, they didn't have the trains yet. The line opened in 2009. The trains weren't ready. So now you've got a multi-billion euro racetrack sitting there, half empty, costing money every single day it isn't fully used. And the pressure is on. You need a high-speed train, fast, and you need it cheap because the line already swallowed billions. The lesson there is simple. When you spend the big money first and leave the critical piece for last, you've handed away all your leverage. Whoever sells you that last piece knows you're desperate. That's exactly the trap they walked into. And the company they turned to had never built a train like this from scratch. The contract went to an Italian builder, HSL-Zuid, not because they were the best, because they were the cheapest. Bigger names were in the running. The makers of the French TGV, the makers of the German ICE. But HSL-Zuid offered a lower price and a higher top speed on paper. That combination won them the deal. The order was for 19 trains. The Dutch operator's share alone was worth 213 million euros. On paper, a bargain. A high-speed train for a budget price. In reality, delivery ran years late, 5 years late. And when the trains finally arrived, the testers found problem after problem. The trains had run only a fraction of the test kilometers that high-speed rail normally demands before it's trusted with passengers. It didn't stop anything. Because by now you've got a multi-billion euro line standing half idle, a public that's furious about the wait, and politicians who need a ribbon to cut. So they pushed it through. Remember this one, because it repeats in every story on this channel. Cheapest is a price tag, not a cost. The real cost shows up later, and it's always bigger. You felt it with a cheap phone, a cheap car, a cheap contractor. Now multiply it by a country. In December 2012, against the warnings, they let it carry passengers. December 9th, 2012, the Fyra opens for business between Amsterdam and Brussels. It goes wrong almost immediately. The trains break down, they get delayed, canceled, pulled. Within a month, more than 5% of services were canceled outright, and fewer than half of the rest ran on time. Then came the winter. Snow and ice built up underneath the trains, and the brand new, supposedly high-speed train couldn't handle it. A panel from the underside came loose and fell onto the track while the train was moving. That's the moment everything ended. A piece of the train, on the rails, in the snow. You cannot run a passenger service like that. The Belgian safety regulator pulled the train's license. On January 17, 2013, the service was suspended. Count the days from launch to shutdown, 39, and here's the takeaway. Big failures don't arrive with one dramatic bang. They show up as a long list of small warnings that everyone agrees to ignore, until one piece falls off and you can't ignore it anymore. So what happens to a fleet of high-speed trains nobody wants? It gets painful. Belgium had seen enough. Their railway pulled out and canceled its order, refusing to take a single train. A few weeks later, the Dutch operator did the same. So now you own 19 high-speed trains that no one will run. They sit, they gather dust. Engineers run them slowly up and down the line just to stop them rusting. They cost money just to exist. Eventually, the builder bought them back. The Dutch operator got 125 million euros returned, about 88 million less than it paid. After extra compensation, the final loss landed near 67 million euros. And then, years later, the whole fleet was sold to Italy, where the trains were rebuilt and finally put to work doing the ordinary job they were never able to do here. Read that back. Built late, run for 39 days, bought back at a loss, then sold off to another country to live a quiet second life. Once a mega project fails, there's no clean exit. You don't get the money back. You sell the wreckage to whoever will take it, and you call that a win. And the people who paid for all of it, they got the slow train back. Here's who actually lost. Not the executives, not the ministers, you. The travelers went back to a slower, older connection for years. The high-speed dream they'd been promised and funded simply evaporated, and the brand was quietly renamed so people would forget it ever existed. The inquiry laid the pattern out in black and white, chasing the lowest price. A builder in over its head. Warnings buried because admitting the truth was politically expensive. Every decision made to protect the project's image instead of the public's money. And that pattern is the whole point of this channel. The cheap choice up front, the ignored warning in the middle, the public holding the bill at the end. Once you see that shape, you start seeing it everywhere. So, 39 days, a 5 billion euro line, a 213 million euro fleet, a total cost that by some estimates climbs toward 11 billion. And at the end of all of it, a panel falling off the bottom of a train in the snow. Billions promised, billions gone. This is what happens when the cheap option meets the big promise. And the Fyra is not the worst one. It's not even close. If you want the next story, the airport that couldn't open for 9 years, the nuclear plant that bankrupted a plan, the bullet train with billions spent and 0 passengers. Subscribe. We're working through every single one. Because the money's always promised, the question is always the same. Where did it go?